videos from all over the internet that's going to inspire change. Let's just start.
In just a few days from now, your life is going to look completely different. It's going to be in a completely different place emotionally, physically, and financially. It's your loss if you don't watch this video all the way to the end. But I prophesy there's a flow, there's a sudden burst of unexpected favor and blessings coming to those whose eyes stay upon the Lord. God is looking for the ones who are humble. He's looking for the ones who honor his name. And I prophesy in the name of Jesus, this is an all things possible type of miracle blessing. God is coming straight to you and bringing a gift from heaven. And I prophesy that in the next 48 hours, you're going to testify of a sudden breakthrough miracle happening in your life. God says,
Amen.
Get ready. Type, I'm ready.
I am
to
ready.
receive in the comments. Now, I want you to go receive your personal daily prophetic words, links in the profile. And I need you to remember this, family. I love you.
Drug addicts are weak. I'm currently developing an addiction to methamphetamines just so I can show everyone how easy it is to quit. Wow.
It's an interesting way to self-teach.
It's a win-win. Either I kick the habit, which I will, and we can all stop.
I mean, how did this
recovering
guy
addicts,
even come to Joe Rogan's
I could spend the
podcast?
rest of my life in a motel smoking crystal meth away from my family.
Like you're really just doing just for the struggle.
Sorry, what the fuck?
Meth is working. Meth is working. Yes. Oh my God, how freaking dangerous and gnarly is that guy? You know what I mean? Hey, I'm just gonna show everyone how easy it is to kick methamphetamine. So I'm gonna take it every single day, and I'm gonna show you weak-minded bitches how easy it is to kick. No, not why? For what? No. And yes, when you've only been doing it for a few weeks, or a month, yeah, I had great times. When I was 22 years old, I'm like, I am not going to be a 30-year-old drug addict. Like, no, I'm partying, I'm having a good time, this stuff's working for me, I'm staying up for days, getting a lot of weird shit done, yet I get tired, I do a little of this methamphetamine, and I feel great. What is the harm in that? Well, at 42, I was still doing meth, shooting heroin, and just going, what the hell? What the hell? It tricked me. So, I think that guy's in for a heavy trick. Yeah, it's not cool. That is not cool. But God bless him on his journey. Maybe he's not. Maybe he'll be able to pull the trigger and be able to clean up and say, that was weird. And see, I quit. Maybe he's not an addict or has that stuff inside of him. I don't know. But it's a dangerous walk that guy's doing. And I don't want to be that guy. Yeah, I was that guy. And I went to a party one weekend, and 30 years later, I was still there. Not cool.
If a mermaid approaches you,
by a mermaid, do you know what you should do? No? Well, that's dangerous. Let me tell you. First of all, you go out of town, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to the Caribbean, you go to Bahamas, you go wherever. Don't be getting in that water with no jewelry. Even if you feel like, hey, a mermaid don't want nothing to do with me, I'm not going to get abducted, I ain't even from here, I can do whatever I want. Don't count yourself out, sweetheart. You get in that water, that could be taken as an offering. And they might take it off your neck, or they might take you and take it off of your neck. Now, if you happen to come into a mermaid and the mermaid asks you to bring them something, they want salt, you bring them sugar. They want sugar, you bring them salt. Why? Because the mermaid's gonna think that you're dumb and you cannot take any type of command. So there's nothing that I could possibly do with you. If you see a mermaid combing their hair, and you could take the comb, know what it comes with. The comb is gold, very valuable. They say if you take a mermaid's comb successfully, you have a lot of wealth coming towards you. But say that you lose this comb or the comb is stolen from you, then you have a lot of bad luck. They're coming for you. Mermaids can be manipulative. They could even ask you to bring them people. There are stories about people who had to bring men who cheated. Stories about people who had to bring children. Yes, bring children to be servants. Using children as offerings to the mermaids, as servants, for more power. And when you're on vacation, try not to go to the water at night. Try not to take anything from the water. Not a seashell, not nothing. Don't take from the water, you give. Now let's talk about what happens when you do get taken by these mermaids. Now I can't tell you how to get away from them, because once you're with them, you're with them. But I can tell you what happens when you are with them. Like for part 2. Part 2 is going to come very fast.
This is Russia. Am I right? Yeah, it looks like Russian. Look at how the dog is calm now. What?
Why do the eyes glow on semen retention? Number one, purity. A lot of people don't understand. When you're on semen retention, you're practicing purity and you're cleaning your spirit up from the inside out. So as you're cleaning up on the inside of here, it projects on the outside. A lot of people don't realize that we wear the filthiness that we do.
Does it make sense?
Somebody who smoke a lot, somebody who drank a lot, somebody who out there just living a rough, hefty, defty life, they wear it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a certain look that people have. The things that we do have an effect because it starts from the inside and works its way out on the outwardly. So it's like it's stuff that's in us that makes us want to do these pleasurable things, these disgusting things. We do it and now it comes back and have a nasty effect. So it's like it goes from the inside out back to the inside, and it's just this constant cycle of just nastiness that we're doing and nastiness that we're displaying outwardly, and we don't even realize. You know, your eyes are the window to the soul. So when you practicing semen retention, when you being obedient to God, you are getting more pure, for one. And two, you abstaining from sexual immorality, which is the only sin where a man sins against his own body. A lot of people don't even know that. A lot of people don't even know that. Two, our sperm, our semen, it contains life. Not only is it our life force that we have to, you know, be able to procreate, it literally contains minerals and vitamins that our bodies need. This is why when you see people that are on semen retention, they look like little kids but grown at the same time. They look like they have a lot of life to them. There's the innocence that comes back. There's a purity that comes back. There's a lot of life in them. That's because they're not depleting their seed. It's not because they it's because they're not wasting their seed all over the place. You see what I'm saying? But a lot of people are in sexual immorality, so we just think that's just a normal look. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at people, it's just you looking right back at yourself, or it looks just like a familiar thing because everybody on it. But when somebody ain't doing it, it's like something different. It's like, hold on, like why your eyes look like that? Man? Why you got so much life to you? It's like, I'm gonna see retention, you know, or the joy of the Lord, whatever the case may be. But you're able to bask in that more whenever you're being obedient to God. It just go down to when you know you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're not walking around with no guilt. You're not walking around with no shame, and you're able to walk in more of the confidence that God gives you, knowing that you're trying, that you're walking in that obedience. Anybody knows that been on a journey with God. Anytime you fell short in a sense of sexual immorality, whether you touching yourself or whether you land up with a woman, whoever the case may be, you don't. You be like, dang, like that conviction. So to walk around and know, like, man, I'm on my stuff, man.
I'm on my
really handling
purpose.
business in this area, and it feels good that I'm not, exchanging the soul ties with people. I'm not steering people from God. I'm pleasing God. Blessed the man who endures temptation. You see what I'm saying? So it's a very freeing, liberating feeling, and it's just beautiful. But yeah, your eyes gonna glow, man. There's life in our seed, and there's life in Christ. So whenever you're obeying Christ and you walking that walk and you're abstaining from sexual immorality, you're becoming more pure. And that's what God calls us to do. So when you listening to God, when you in Christ, it's gonna show. Just like whenever somebody ain't with God, you can see it. With somebody with God, you can see it. You You see what I'm saying? So the eyes are the window to the soul, and yeah, vitality in that seed and life in Christ, man. That's what it comes down to. But that is why the eyes glow when you don't see retention.
Who are you?
Who's who? Who's you?
Listen.
Who's you?
Put your hands behind your back.
I am Ben Day. Do you hear what I said?
Do you have an ID?
I am Ben Day. I'm on my
you have-
property. I'm not operating commerce.
Do you have an ID? If you have an ID, just show it, man.
You're about to get tased. I'm not. Yeah.
You're going to
100%.
tase me on my land.
Just show your ID. That's
You will
it.
do that.
I will 100% do it. That's correct.
You will tase
Put your
a
hands
peaceful
behind your
man on his land.
Can we make this peaceful?
It is peaceful. Don't you feel the peace?
No, you're yelling right now.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I forgot.
if we are mistaken,
You're mistaken.
if we are mistaken,
If you're mistaken,
we can get this all cleared out.
I am Ben Day.
Right.
That's
Let's
what it is.
show your
That's what it
ID,
is.
man.
That's what it is.
What's your
That's
date of
all.
birth?
You're looking for who?
What's your date of
Who are
birth?
you looking for?
What is your date of birth?
Who are you looking for? Who are you looking for?
You're
Who
matching?
are you looking for?
Elroy.
Okay, you're matching.
You're not
Elroy doesn't
Elroy?
live here.
Okay. Where's Elroy live?
I don't know. Go ask him.
Because Elroy's
Go
address.
ask him.
Elroy's address is here.
Go ask him. Go ask him.
Put your hands behind your back.
Go ask Elroy.
Put your hands behind your
Go
back.
ask
I'm
Elroy.
going to tell you one more time. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not matching anything. This is my estate.
Right, but keep this peaceful.
I am being peaceful. I have no weapons on me, and I told you that. I'm allowed to raise my voice. That's not against the law. That's what decibel is it that I need to go past? What decibel is it not peaceful anymore? Tell me that.
Elroy, put your
Do
hands
not
behind
touch me.
Put your hands
Hey,
behind
do
your
not
back.
touch me.
Put your hands behind
Do
your
not
back.
touch me. I'm telling you, do not touch me.
I'm going to tase you.
You tase me, it's gonna get hot in this bitch. And I'm telling you, it's gonna
Just
get
show your
hot.
ID, man.
I'm
It's
telling you,
as
it's gonna
simple
get
as
hot. I
that.
don't care. Go ahead.
I'm going to tase you.
All right.
Put your hands behind your back.
Listen.
Put your hands behind your back.
Go ahead and do what you gotta do. Go ahead. Don't touch me though. You're not allowed to touch me.
Back up.
Maintain 1 arm distance from me for your own safety. and
Taser, taser, taser.
Hey,
Tase him. Tase him.
just get on the ground, please.
OC, OC. Get on the ground.
I gave you everything, and this is how you treat
On
me.
the ground, please.
What did you do?
Oh,
Show
you're
your
looking
card,
down.
man. That's so simple as that.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Stay on the ground.
Do not touch me. If you touch me, you're gonna see something you don't want to see.
Elroy, come on.
Get on the ground.
Come on.
For your safety.
Get on the ground.
Get on the
I'm
ground.
telling you.
Let's make this peaceful.
This is peace and love. This is peace and love.
Come on, Elroy.
This is peace
Get
and
on
love.
the- get on the ground.
Peace and love.
Just get on the
Put your hands
ground.
behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Don't touch me.
Elroy, come on.
I'm not Elroy.
What is your name again?
I'm Ben Day.
Ben Day, then put your hands behind your back.
On your back.
I'm not getting my hands behind.
There's an exact moment when a woman realizes that you're that guy. And this moment will either happen or it won't happen, usually within the first month of knowing her. And when a woman decides that you're that guy, the best way that I can describe her behavior is she has decided that she now belongs to you. And I mean that, she belongs to you. You know, when a man has decided that she's that woman, he feels responsible for her. Right? He feels responsible to pay for her dinner, to make sure she's safe, to defend her from dangerous situations, to take care of her maybe financially. You know, a man feels like he's responsible for a woman when he realizes she's that woman. But when a woman realizes you're that man, she feels like she belongs to you. She's giving it all to you. Like everything within her belongs to you now. There's one thing that they almost always say, almost every single one of them, and I've never heard anybody in the manosphere say this, but I'm going to try to put it in my words. But they usually say something like, no one has ever made me feel this way. And that doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean no one has ever made them feel this way. I'm sure they've felt this way before. But what this means is they've gotten bit by the oxytocin bug. You have them high. You have them mesmerized. You know, you're all they think about. When they buy clothes, they want to buy clothes that would match your clothes. You know, they might not be fans of sports, but you're a Cowboys fan. Now she's buying Dallas Cowboys jerseys. She talks about you all the time. She thinks about you all the time. She belongs to you. You're kind of her world at this point. And this doesn't take place when you're using pickup tactics.
Did this guy just figure out how to print free money?
We're making $500 million a day. I'm staring at my screen and we're selling dollar bills for
How true is
$3,
this?
sometimes a million times a minute.
This is Michael Saylor.
Michael Saylor,
He's the
I think
founder
I
of
have
a
to
company
research
called
about him.
MicroStrategy. Saylor's net worth has soared to more than $10 billion this year, making him one of the 250 richest people on the planet. But Saylor's rise into the upper echelons of wealth has come with a lot of controversy. Recently, he's claimed that his company MicroStrategy is the most profitable company in the world, that is making $500 million per day, more than Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, or any of the other mega tech companies that we're all familiar with. Not only that, Saylor claims that he and MicroStrategy are just getting started, and that every company in the world and every person in the world needs to copy his strategy or else they'll be left behind. Is there any truth to this, or is this all just a big scam? Judging by what's going on in the stock market, investors seem to be believing what Saylor is saying. MicroStrategy stock has been going through the roof. It's now valued at $100 billion, up from just $10 billion at the start of the year. So what's going on here? Has Saylor really created a perpetual money machine? That is what I'm going to talk about today. First, let's lay out what MicroStrategy actually is. Founded in 1989, MicroStrategy originally developed software for business intelligence. But that changed in 2020 when MicroStrategy began a dramatic transformation. In August of that year, it became the first publicly traded company to purchase Bitcoin. Using cash that it had in the bank, MicroStrategy bought $250 million worth of Bitcoin at an average price of around $11,650. That, it turns out, would be the first of many Bitcoin purchases by MicroStrategy. Over the past few weeks, MicroStrategy has absolutely turbocharged its Bitcoin purchases. On November 11th, it announced that it bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. A week later, on November 18th, it announced a $4.6 billion purchase. And a week after that, on November 25th, it announced that it bought another $5.4 billion.
This sounds like a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid
in just a span of 2 weeks, MicroStrategy bought $12 billion of Bitcoin. In terms of dollar value, that's more Bitcoin than the company bought in the previous 4 years combined. These massive numbers have really excited investors, and it's the reason that MicroStrategy stock has skyrocketed in recent days, pushing the market cap of the company to nearly $100 billion. In fact, the excitement has grown to such a level that MicroStrategy is now valued at nearly 3 times the value of its Bitcoin. You heard that right. While MicroStrategy's market cap is $100 billion, the value of its Bitcoin is currently $36 billion. This big gap is why MicroStrategy is such a controversial stock. Bears argue that the stock is way overvalued, while bulls say that the premium valuation is justified. So let's look at both sides of the issue to see who's right. And I want to start with those claims that I mentioned earlier in this video that Michael Saylor made. All that talk about how MicroStrategy is the most profitable company in the world, making $500 million per day. I'm going to be honest with you, that claim is extremely misleading. It's based on the fact that MicroStrategy bought a bunch of Bitcoin over the past few weeks, and since it bought them, the price of Bitcoin has gone up. Anyone can go out and buy an asset, whether it be a stock or a cryptocurrency, and make some quick money. Those are investment gains, and they're not in any way equivalent to the operating profits generated by companies like Apple and Amazon. For Saylor to characterize them in the way that he did is hyperbolic nonsense. So that claim is ridiculous, but there's other claims that we should look at as well. We know that MicroStrategy's aim is to buy Bitcoin and profit from the rise in Bitcoin's price over the long term. I admit, it's a strategy that's worked well for the company. But Saylor often uses a bunch of jargon to make it seem like MicroStrategy is doing much more than just buying Bitcoin, that is doing something really special to create shareholder value. He's talked about how MicroStrategy is powered by a, quote, Bitcoin reactor that makes money by stripping the volatility off fixed income securities and transferring it to MicroStrategy stockholders. Jargon aside, the crux of his thesis is based on this metric which he calls the BTC yield. And what that is essentially is an increase in Bitcoin per share over time. Let me put it more simply. When you go out and buy MicroStrategy stock, you own a certain number of shares. At the same time, MicroStrategy has this big pot of Bitcoin that they've purchased over the years. Each of your shares represents a portion of this pot. For instance, today each share of MicroStrategy represents 0.001451 Bitcoin in the pot. Saylor says that over time, he can increase the number of Bitcoin that each share represents. And because of that, MicroStrategy is a good investment and deserves to trade at a high level. The problem is, yes, Bitcoin per share has been increasing and could potentially continue to increase. price. But that's only because new investors are buying shares at such a high premium. Let me give you an example with nice round numbers to make this clear. If there are 100 shares of MicroStrategy outstanding and MicroStrategy owns 100 Bitcoins, then each share represents ownership of 1 Bitcoin. Let's say the stock price of MicroStrategy reflects this with no premium in the shares. If Bitcoin is trading at $100,000, then in this scenario, MicroStrategy stock is also trading at $100,000 because 1 share represents ownership of 1 Bitcoin. But now let's say that investors in MicroStrategy go crazy and they bid up the stock so that it has a 200% premium. In this case, MicroStrategy stock trades at $300,000. If the company goes out and sells 100 shares, it can raise $30 million at that price. With that $30 million, it can turn around and buy 300 Bitcoin at a price of $100,000 each. Now let's look at the situation. MicroStrategy owns 400 Bitcoins and there are 200 shares outstanding. That means that each share represents ownership of 2 Bitcoins up from 1 Bitcoin before. What's changed? Each share represents ownership of twice the Bitcoin as it did before, but is this magic? No, the investors who bought MicroStrategy at a premium price boosted the value of all of the existing shares. It was a transfer of value from new buyers of MicroStrategy stock to earlier buyers of MicroStrategy stock. So this is essentially what's going on here. There is no free money, there is no free lunch. It's simply a transfer of wealth. Speaking of which, you want to know which investor is really benefiting from that wealth transfer? Michael Saylor, who is the original MicroStrategy shareholder, and his share of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin pot grows every time he's able to sell stock at a premium to someone else. So it's kind of funny, I said there's no free money in this situation, but for Michael Saylor, it kind of feels like there is, because he's turning the mania in his company's stock into a huge windfall for himself and other early investors. There's another aspect to this that I should cover as well, because Saylor talks about it a lot, and it's this concept of selling volatility. You see, MicroStrategy has historically raised money from investors in 2 ways. One is through the sale of common stock, like I outlined in my example, and the other is through the sale of convertible bonds. Convertible bonds are hybrid securities. You can think of them like a bond, which is a type of debt, combined with a call option. If you're unfamiliar with call options, they're a type of security that entitles you to buy a stock at a particular price, the strike price, at or before a particular time, the expiration date. A call option has value because the price of the stock in question could rise above the strike price before the option expires. It's great if you have a call option that grants you the right to buy a stock at $100 if that stock is trading at $120, for example. Anyway, the more volatile a stock is, the more valuable a call option is, because there's a higher chance that the stock will rise above the strike price. So in the case of MicroStrategy, the stock is extremely volatile. It moves up and down crazy amounts every day, which makes its call options extremely pricey. MicroStrategy has taken advantage of this by selling convertible bonds, which, like I said, have call options embedded inside of them. They're usually structured in a way like this. The holder of the bond gets a small amount of interest, or maybe even no interest. In exchange for the low interest rate, the holder of the bond gets the option to purchase MicroStrategy stock at a price that's 50% above the current stock price of the company. So if MicroStrategy stock goes through the roof, that's great. The bonds get converted into stock and the holder profits that way. But if the stock goes down or fails to reach the conversion price by the time the bond matures, then it's never converted into stock and the money is paid back just like any other bond. With convertible bonds, the upside is unlimited while the downside is limited as long as MicroStrategy has the money to pay them back. The main thing to understand is that convertible bonds are hybrid securities that MicroStrategy is selling in order to raise money to purchase Bitcoin. And just like when it sells regular common stock, there is no free lunch. In the case where MicroStrategy stock rises significantly, convertible bonds turn into stocks. Now granted, Michael Saylor would argue that with convertible bonds you get more bang for your buck, because while they do turn into stocks in many cases, that conversion happens at a much higher price. If you sell common stocks, you usually sell them at the current market price of the stock. But with convertible bonds, the conversion price is usually much higher than the market price, something like 50% higher. So in my earlier example, it would be like MicroStrategy selling shares at $450,000 rather than $300,000.
So you see,
yes, that is all true. There are advantages of selling convertible bonds, but there are downsides as well. By selling convertible bonds, MicroStrategy is making a trade-off. The company is potentially able to sell its stock at a higher price, but at the risk of not being able to sell any stock if the stock price goes down. If the stock price doesn't exceed the conversion price by the time the bonds mature, then the convertible bonds must be repaid. That is a risk, and it's a trade-off, not a free lunch. The next bond maturity that it faces is in February of 2027, so a little over 2 years from now. The worst case scenario is for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy stock to crash around that time. If that happens, then the company might have to quickly come up with $1 billion to pay the bonds back, either by selling some of its Bitcoin holdings or by selling stock at depressed prices. But the worst case scenario isn't the only downside scenario that investors in MicroStrategy have to be wary of. The stock is tied extremely closely to Bitcoin. This is for obvious reasons. The vast majority of the company's value comes from its pot of Bitcoins. MicroStrategy's software business is probably worth $1 to $2 billion, a small sliver of the company's $100 billion market cap. So if Bitcoin goes down, MicroStrategy will almost certainly go down with it. In addition to the risk of Bitcoin going down, investors in MicroStrategy have to worry about the premium in the stock coming down as well. Today there is a 3-to-1 ratio between the value of MicroStrategy stock and the value of its Bitcoin holdings. But in 2022, the ratio fell all the way down to 1-to-1. In fact, it was trading close to 1 earlier this year. So those are the two big risks of holding MicroStrategy stock: a decline in Bitcoin and a decline in MicroStrategy's premium. But of course, there's a flip side to all of this also. After all, the stock has performed extremely well this year, rising almost
Everything that goes up
Maybe instead of going down, the
comes
stock's
down.
premium continues to expand. Like I said, today MicroStrategy trades at a value that's 3 times that of its underlying Bitcoin holdings. But who is to say that it couldn't trade at 4 times, 5 times, or even more? Now, that would obviously be a speculative bet to make. But judging from the many investors buying MicroStrategy today, a lot of investors seem willing to make that bet. It's kind of interesting. With Bitcoin, you're guessing what the price of Bitcoin will be. With MicroStrategy, you're guessing what the price of Bitcoin will be, and you're guessing what the premium of the stock will be compared to MicroStrategy's Bitcoin holdings. You could certainly imagine a bullish scenario where the rally continues. Bitcoin rips higher above $100,000, fueling another leg up in MicroStrategy stock, leading Michael Saylor and company to raise another $10 or $20 billion to buy Bitcoin, which pushes Bitcoin even higher, and so on. At some point, though, there will be an inevitable crypto winter. Bitcoin's going to drop 50% or more, and MicroStrategy's going to fall even more than that. The crypto bear market will be the riskiest moment for MicroStrategy. If you're Michael Saylor, you don't want to see the crypto bear market take place right before a big batch of your convertible bonds is about to mature. That would be bad because you would have to make distressed sales of either Bitcoin or stocks in order to pay those bonds back. So there you have it. That's my take on MicroStrategy. This is a fascinating company and stock that's closely related to Bitcoin but has elements of being a meme stock and a cult stock as well. I'll have more to say about that in future videos.
American scientists claimed that the black stone, which Muslims believe is a stone from paradise, is nothing but an ordinary earthly rock. They requested the Saudi government to allow a team of scientists to examine the stone in Makkah. When permission was granted, 2 renowned scientists arrived at the Kaaba, convinced that the stone was of terrestrial origin. Many pilgrims present were outraged to see non-Muslims in Makkah, questioning how they could enter such a sacred place. However, the Saudi prince explained that if they were denied this research, the scientists might harbor even more disbelief, thinking that Muslims were hiding something from the world. The scientists brought several advanced machines to examine the structure and composition of the black stone. As the lead scientist began his tests, he smirked, perhaps unaware of the stone's significance. But as he continued his analysis, his demeanor changed. His face turned pale, he began to sweat, and he seemed to struggle to breathe.
You look at the royal family here, last 100 years, they built Dubai, they built the Emirates from the ground up. Yeah. From the ground up. Like, it's not a joke. So these dudes that are absolutely rolling in money, oil money, People are like, oh yeah, oil money, as if it was easy to extract oil from the ground and sell it across the world as if it was some sort of monopoly game. Dumb idiots that actually have these comments that haven't actually provided any value to the world. You get paid in proportion to the value and the difficulty of the problems that you solve. So you guys provided massive value. They were able to stabilize the dollar, create the petrodollar with the US government. They got rich in the process. Dubai is one of the meccas of opportunity. I said this to you before. I mean, it's one of these places where you come and you realize the capabilities and the human potential. It's, dude, they're making man-made islands in the shape of a palm that you can see from space. That's not a joke. That's human engineering. That's vision. It's a big deal. That's when I tell people, hey, you know, I've been able to make millions of dollars in a day. Obviously not every single day, but there's days where cash out of a company, sell some equity, make $5 million. They're pulling out billions of dollars, extracting billions of dollars of oil out of the ground every single day. There's levels to the game. Once you understand the levels by exposing yourself, traveling, getting involved with network situations, you begin to see how big and how big human potential actually is and how far it can actually take you. It's pretty amazing.
It actually makes the rats sexually attracted to the smell of cat urine. Have you ever seen them run up to cats? Cats like, what the f is going on? The cats like bounce away from the rat.
There's a crazy paper in The Phenomenon of the Cat Lady. His paper was what happens to a person's brain to tell it it's normal to have 38 cats. And what he learned was when the cats were crapping, the Gandhi would come out. And then the rats that ate the cat crap, this Gandhi disabled the part of the brain that would tell an otherwise sentient rat to run from the cat. And they became docile, and the cats started obliterating the mice and rat population. So he basically postulated that Doris the cat lady, she got just a little bit of cat on her fingers and ate it, and the Gandhi disabled the part of her brain that said maybe 2 cats.
What? This was so interesting. This was very interesting, and I think you should comment down the videos we should do next. I leave my handles underneath the video, so I think you should, you know, you can just send me some videos that you think I could or I should react to, and I'll do that too as well. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and also share with your friends, and also click on the notification bell icon so that any video that I post, you will be the first to get it. Adios amigos, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.